Thank you. Good evening. I would like to call to order the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Common Council. Today is Wednesday, February 7th. It is 7:01 p.m. The first item on the agenda is roll call. Tonight we have everyone with us. We have Councilmember Burnett, Ms. McMurr, Ms. Ayers, Ms. Dunn, Mr. Wiggins, and myself, Barbara Smith. Did I get everybody? I think so. Oh, and Mr. Freyer. Thank you, Jim Freyer. Next item on the agenda is public participation. I would just like to remind everyone of our council and committee rules, which is you have 3 minutes to speak on any item on the agenda. You must speak about an item on the agenda, and you must also state your name and your address for the record. And you will have 3 minutes. So do we have anyone who is signed up for public participation?
No, there's no guest attendees.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So I will go ahead and close public participation.
Muted.
You're muted, Barbara.
Oops, when did that happen?
I don't know.
Sorry about that. Okay.
I didn't do it.
Okay, so public participation is closed. Did you hear that? Okay, all right, good. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we will move on to the minutes of the January 3rd meeting. Do I have a motion, please? Ms. McMurr moves that. Are there any corrections, deletions, additions? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that is unanimous. Oh, right, unanimous? No abstentions? Oh, okay, Mr. Burnett abstains. Got it. Okay, so that passes with 1 abstention. Next, moving on to new business. Item A, review proposed guaranteed maximum price GMP for Newfield construction for the new South Norwalk School project and refer the following to the Common Council for final action. I'm going to move item A and then B and C together. So item A, approve to reject construction bid from Sean's Lawns Inc. for site work for the proposed South Norwalk Elementary School project and proceed with the award to the next lowest responsible bidder. Will someone move that item, please?
So moved.
Looks okay. Mr. Freyer moves that item. I'm going to turn this over to Alan for more specifics, but what we have learned is Sean's Lawns is in some violations, and we do not want to award a contract as part of this bid to a company, particularly in South Norwalk, who has current violations. So Alan, you want to give us a little more detail?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Before I go specifically to this item, I just want to know for this project, as well as the second item on this agenda, which is Norwalk High School. For the last few months, last 3 months, we've been really the project team been really busy on these 2 projects and going out to bid. Overall, we did very well. Both projects. South Norwalk did better than Norwalk High School, but they are both project approvable. And that's why it's submitted in front of you. I think we have to recognize that in the last few years, the construction industry, especially the school construction in Connecticut, it's been very challenging in terms of pricing go up and down. And traditionally, we carry a 2 or 3% escalation in our numbers, in our cost estimate. But the last couple of years, we're up to like 8%, and recently it went back to 5% increase per year. So we're talking about these 2 projects. One is over $200 million, the other is over $60–70 million kind of thing. When you talk about escalation 1 year, 5%, that's potentially you go to like $3 million, $5 million, $10 million kind of number. So it's I mean, when we're talking doing percentage and large number, these actual dollars are really, really high value. But getting back to what's in front of us, we were out to bid recently, and the project for South Norwalk School, Newfield Construction is our construction manager. The bids came in within our budget and everything else, and we've developed GMP. The GMP is very long. It's like maybe, I don't know, more than 50, 100 pages kind of thing. What we included is just a really extract from it. It's like 2-3 pages. If you ever want to see it for some reason, let me know, and I'll email you a link or send you a copy. But a lot of it is just very technical stuff about bit numbers and stuff like that. There are a number of bit packages. It's, you know, I think it's probably over 20 packages, including electrician, plumbers, drywall contractors, on and on, site contractor and demolition contractors. So when you add all these numbers, when the bits comes in, we've got very good coverage on these packages, even though there are times that are not very a lot of people bid on these not contracted bid on these projects, but we did very well. And through all that stuff, we look at the new field construction, look at all these numbers, and provide the city what we call guaranteed maximum price, GMP, which basically means a contract amount. Guarantee to the point that, you know, when you know, based on the design scope and the bid package, that's the number is supposed to be, kind of thing. But at the same time, is when there's changes and stuff, we still respond for additional costs. So it's just an industry term, but doesn't guarantee. The word guarantee could be a little deceiving, but generally speaking, it's like any contract price. What else did I talk about? So what's one in front of you? The item B, it's about Sean Lawn Company. Just correct Chair Barbara Smith. It's actually the company. It's located in near Route 7. It's near the proposed BJ site. I think it's one of the street on the side near the river. They actually located over there, not in South Norwalk. Initially, I thought they were in South Norwalk, but they actually ended up in north, I guess, somewhat north of the city, kind of thing. So back in 2017, they were found to be in violation of the site contractor's yard, and in 2019 they applied for special permit, but they never fulfilled their permit in terms of completing all the work that's required. So they're currently still violation. Their price is substantially lower than second bidder, but this is one of the conditions in the city's ordinance that says that the city has the ability or right to reject any bids bidder that have a current violation. So they fall into this category, and also since it's a long-term violation, hasn't been corrected. So we look at it very seriously, because the reason why we have these laws and ordinance in place is to do exactly that, to make sure that the contractor that the city do business with is in full compliance with all the requirements of the city. So we are recommending the rejection of bid. The reason why it's so specific, because it's not like typically, there are times that the construction manager will reject a bid because there's mistakes or errors or things happen in a bid that's technical, and we may reject a bid, but the common council would not know about it because it's just a contractor, the contractor rejecting a trade contractor's bid. But this violation is really specific to city ordinance. That's why we are asking the common council to act on it, because it's not the contractor that it's not Newfield Construction that rejecting the bid, because from a bidding perspective, from the numbers and tasks and scope wise, they conform. When we get down to a violation of city ordinance, it's a separate issue. It's up to a common council to reject it. So that's what is in front of you tonight. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Frere.
Is it that we may disqualify them, or we must disqualify them?
You may.
So we could keep them, for instance.
Yes.
And what would be the ramifications of that? I don't think it's a big difference in price anyway.
It's I think there's ordinance set up so that specifically so that we have the ability to make a decision. But I think if I would present this differently to the committee, if this violation is only for like, you know, for only happen a short time and can be corrected in a short time. But this happens in 2017. There's effort on their part to take out a special permit to address this in 2019. But they haven't fulfilled the obligation of the special permit, and that has since, I believe, has expired. So I think it's 1 year, I'm not sure, but that's really planning and zoning issue. But I think when we do put these ordinance in the city's books, I think that we have an obligation to, more than the spirit of it, but we need to, I mean, there's a purpose why we do it, right? and at this point, I think, you know, if something that comes in and that can be corrected in 2 weeks or 2 months, I think I would present it differently to the council. But at the same time, since this is like, you know, it's a long term, and again, it's 2019. That's when the special permit was approved. We got special permit. They haven't done the corrective measure to be in compliance. And I don't think it's that easy to correct it at this point. And I can't. I mean, if 2 weeks or a month, I think potentially we could approve it. I think that's when May comes into play. You know, that we may. But when it's a long violation, it's just, you know, how do we enforce it in the future? You know, if we waive this requirement at this point, so it's a little bit of you know, what we do now and what happens in the future. So
Okay,
I think.
Yeah.
Enough
Mr.
said.
Burnett.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson Smith. I guess my question is, have we informed the company that, or reminded them of the violations that they have? And if we have they made any indication that they would try to correct the situation, or what has been the communication with the company?
Mike D'Angelo is representing Newfield Construction. He's at the meeting today. But before he says anything, let me just, as part of low bidder, Newfield Construction are required to, we go for a scope review with them. They go through the technical side of the bid to see what's in the scope, what's covered, what's not covered. They have gone through that, and the issue came out on this violation, the city violation came up, and we researched it. And since then, we have informed the contractor, Newfield Construction, that the cities will most likely go through approval process to disqualify them. Newfield has since advised the contractor that the city is not accepting the bids at this point, but tentatively subject to Common Council approval. So they are aware of it. I don't believe they have said anything to us to say directly. We had informed them if they had any question, and we'll contact our law department to discuss that about the violation. So it's really not for me as a staff or city in terms of building to address the zoning issue. Zoning department is really, it's a zoning that they should need to talk to our law department. We've got a rejection a bit as well. Talk to planning and zoning to see. I mean, they know about the violation. I mean, they actually took out a special permit, so they know it's an issue. But yet they haven't corrected it for 5 years. So 2019, I don't know. So that's 3-4 years. So they are aware of it, but we haven't heard anything from them yet.
Ms. McMurray.
Thank you. Alan, I just want to clarify. I think what you're saying is we are rejecting this bid. I know there's a May in there, and I'm a little nervous about that because I don't think I'd want to do business with somebody who has a violation and hasn't corrected it in 5 years. So I just want to go on the record and say that. And then I know you can't answer this, but I think we should follow up with planning and zoning to see what we're doing to make sure that they are correcting this violation and why they've been given so much leeway. 5 years seems like an awful long time to have a violation of any kind with the city. So that concerns me.
I have requested that information from planning and zoning. They have responded. They've been notified, sometimes verbally, sometimes writing to the company in the past few years. But I don't think the planning and zoning department is taking a position that is they responded to advise the company to come in. So, but at the same time, they did do it. There's zoning violation of a contractor yard in whatever zone they're in, and they also with the Conservation Commission, there's a violation there too, and they need to put in catch basins and other things to protect runoff and things. And since they haven't took out a permit for it, they are not in compliance.
Thank you, Alan.
Yeah, I think Ms. McMurray, just to add to the comments, I think what Alan is saying is we may, right, meaning it's our vote, right? And like you, I feel very strongly that this is not a company that I feel comfortable giving our city business to if they have these outstanding violations and they are not good stewards of, conservation. So I have very strong feelings about that. So I'm a hard no. So what we have to do is vote. Does anyone else have any comments or questions before I call for the vote? Yeah, go ahead, Alan.
Just want to add something. this conversation regarding possibility of rejecting the bid, we had conversation with the law department together with our purchasing department. We had discussed it in detail, and the law department looked at it in a little more detail, look at all the zoning violation and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, it's they are aware of the city ordinance. They are aware of the city's potential common council interest about, you know, being firm about violation and doing business with companies that are violating current city regulations and stuff. But at the end of the day, law department position is that because the way the ordinance is set up, it's May. So it's not like a legal decision for the corporation council to decide whether the city should or not. So because the word May is in the ordinance, so that's why we fortunately we put it back on the council to make those decisions.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Okay, anything else before we vote? Okay, so all in favor of rejecting the bid, please signify by raising your hand. That's unanimous. I don't even need to ask for a no. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on, I'll read B and C together. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an amendment to the agreement with Newfield Construction Group LLC as the construction manager, CM, for the construction of the new South Norwalk Elementary School to accept the guaranteed maximum price in the amount not to exceed $51,830,611, account number noted. And C, authorize building management to issue change orders on contract for a total not to exceed $2,500,000, account number noted. Will someone move that item, please? Ms. McMurray?
Yeah.
Take it away, Alan.
Yeah, like I said before, I think this project is very, very successful. The total project originally started at $76 million. We spent $14 million for land acquisition, so we have about $62 million. And so this bid came in very well in terms of meeting our financial position. And what else do I say? There's a lot of work behind the scene. I have Eddie here tonight. Eddie, he's representing Tecton as the architect, and Mike D'Angelo is from Newfield Construction. Also, Jim Giuliano is here. He's kind of works with me on all the school construction projects to manage all our projects. So I think we did very well. I think we are on schedule. Subject to this committee's approval tonight, we will go to the Common Council next Tuesday night. We have tentatively, with understanding that subject to council approval, we actually start lining up the demolition contractor and site contractor. And we are scheduled to start probably before the end of the month to start getting. I mean, you see activity. I mean, we'd be mobilized by the end of the month, right? So I think this project is scheduled to go through construction about completion in a year and a half or so, which is August of 2025. So it's very aggressive. One of the things I always say to the Common Council as well as Board of Education is that for these construction projects, I make it our responsibility to come to the council and the Board of Ed by April of next year, 2025, April 15th to April 30th, to give an update to the committee of Common Council as well as Board of Education, the status of the project. There are times when during the construction project, when this trade contractor may go bankrupt or different things happen to them that affect construction schedule that we can't complete on time. That's beyond our control. So to the extent we can, I mean, last couple of years, our biggest problem was supply chain issues where certain things doesn't get delivered, which the contractor has no responsibility over and can't control. So by next April of 2025, we will confirm the schedule, confirm the completion date, so that we know that we would be able to open school for the fall of 2025. And by next year, there's also more conversation between the city, us, and the Board of Education regarding the occupancy of the building. It's a little tricky because when we open a new building, if there are kids coming from different parts of from South Norwalk, but currently going to other schools, the whole strategy need to be developed. The parent need to know ahead of time where the kids are going to go to school in the fall. So it is important for us to advise more than the Board of Education, also the parents, that this is happening or this is not happening, so parents can plan for it. Because for some reason there's a delay that beyond our control. and we can't open school, then, we need to let the parent know ahead of time also. But fortunately, South North School is pretty unique because it's like we build a new school, it's going to be fully furnished. And the grades that are moving in is probably the kids, the students from current South North School. I believe it's only pre-K, K, and first grade right now. So in another year would be second grade. So the school won't be filled. And there's always been discussion about whether most of the kids that South North kids that currently go to other part of town, they most likely won't come back. They probably stay where they are to finish elementary school. So they don't, like fourth and fifth grader, they go to other part of the city. They probably won't want to come here. So I don't think we'll be offering them opportunities. So that's a decision by the Board of Education. So we probably don't open those classes, fourth and fifth grade, once we open right away when we open school. So really it's just the kids from South North School that are moving in. So there's a little bit of gradual filling of the school as we open the school. So there's a whole strategy that needs to be refined and developed and refined next year. So as the construction becomes more solidified in terms of scheduling. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Do we have any questions or, Mike, did you want to add some comments? We have Mr. Burnett.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to reconfirm that the 51 million plus is the budget that we initially set. And if you can can you remind us of the reimbursement rate for the new South Norwalk School?
Sure. It is within that number that we have for the project. And the reimbursement rate last year, I think it was about this time, right, Jim? I think the city received the state enacted a special legislation that for community that's over 80,000, I think it is, right, Jim?
Yes.
That 80,000 would be eligible for reimbursable rates of 60%. So traditionally, the city get 33.2% as a reimbursable rate. And with new construction, that rate becomes 22, it's 10% less. So for this school, if we didn't get that last year, we would have been, reimbursement would be 22.2%. Instead now it's 60%. So you think difference about 38%. Just 38% of $70 million. It's quite a bit of money, huh? 20-some million dollars more in terms of reimbursement, I think it is, right? So it's a significant increase in the reimbursement rate, and then allow the city to go much further with our money to do school improvement projects.
Ms. McMurray.
Thank you, Chair Smith. I love the 60% reimbursement rate. Do we have any timeline on when the reimbursement is actually received by the city? Like, I know we have to put out the money and then we're reimbursed for it, but do we know what the timeline of that is?
Jim,
yeah, so we have to, the city, like you said, Ms. McMurray, is that the city has to expend the money and then we request a reimbursement. We are in the process of putting together our first request for reimbursement for both the high school and South Norwalk School. Typically, it takes 2 months once we submit the reimbursement to get payment from the state. That's not always the case, however, but the state has been getting better. They've implemented some new requirements, some new processes to make things a little bit easier. So we'll be submitting again, probably next week or the week after. We'd have to wait 2 months. We cannot submit the next payment. It locks you out of the system, out of the core CT system until that payment has been made. So we'll, once we make the first one, we start working on the second one, at least collecting all the information and filling out the paperwork. So that way, as soon as we get the first reimbursement, we immediately submit the second one.
I mean, that's faster than I would have thought, so that's good. And I know it doesn't always work that way. Nothing ever does. So is it incremental? How many reimbursements do you have to put in for dependent on the project itself?
Well, you can only put in for up to your reimbursement minus your, the retainage that the state holds. So essentially, we can put in for 55% of the project cost.
Okay.
That last 5% is held on to the state until you go through the audit process.
Mhm.
The audit process is usually a few years down the road after the project is done. And then the state will come to the town or to the city and say, show us records of various information. Did you go out to bid for the CM services? Did you go out to bid for the architectural services? And the city will have to produce those documents and a host of other documents that they'll be asking for. And once the state is satisfied with that, then the remaining 5% gets released to the city.
I'm surprised they only hang on to 5%, honestly, at that point,
They
but
used, yeah, they used to, well, initially it was 5%, and then they raised it to 11% to incentivize districts to get the projects closed out. But what ended up happening is the state didn't really man up to be able to process all the requirements. And so now they went back down to the 5%.
okay. That's
Yeah.
great information. Thank you so much.
Let me,
You're
let me just add a little more. This is kind of interesting. You brought this up. I don't want to prolong it too long, but it's interesting because traditionally we submit for reimbursement probably every 4 months or so kind of thing, because our reimbursement is only 22%. So the state portion the state layout is not substantial, relatively speaking. So we do it probably every 4 months, or 3-4 months, whatever. So it's not regular. But for these two projects, for North High School and South North School, because this is the first time we got reimbursement over 60 and 80%, the state share is such a big number that, and also the size of the project, we are looking to submit a reimbursement request every 2 months to keep the cash flow for both projects, because now we are carrying the state debt much more than before, because before we responsible for a much bigger portion. The challenge is when you get to the end of the project. There's something before Henry left. Me and him talked, and Jim talked to them quite a bit about this. The carrying costs, because the state audit is probably like 4 or 5 years after we finish the project, and then if they hold back only 5%, at point they're holding 11%. We are paying the debt service on that money for a few years. So we may have to actually bond money just to cover the interest for those money kind of thing. So there is another strategy that finance department and us need to sit down again to figure out what those financial implications are in terms of the accounting side of this upfronting state portion is. We're upping 5% or 20%. It's not substantial of a smaller project, but we're talking about 5%, 80% of a $200 million. It's quite a bit of money. So that's something that we still need to address.
So we haven't budgeted for that yet. We're still
No, we haven't.
calculating what that's going to be.
We budgeted 50-some million and plus $6 million, so we have like 56, whatever it is kind of thing. But this cash flow issue is something we haven't budgeted yet. So something that we talked about, that Henry, before he left, he was aware of it, and there's in back of his mind he has a strategy how we can do that. But at some point is that we can't carry that much cost and interest and stuff without taking some specific actions.
Okay.
Mr. Frayer.
Alan, I think I misunderstood what you said. The bid came in at 51 million, and the total project is 76 million. Did you say that you expected the budget or the estimates to come in at like 72 or 62 million?
Yeah, out of the $76 million, we spent $14 million for land acquisition. So that's why
Okay.
down to $62 million. There's a lot of soft costs. There's only contingency. There's only contingency, soft costs, architectural fees, and on, and the furniture
Right.
and all the other stuff that makes up the difference.
So, but you're looking at the difference that they came in, their bid comes in at 51 million, and you expected it probably more in the neighborhood of about 60 to 62 million?
No, we expect to be $51 million or so.
Okay, I got it.
And the balance between this number 51 and then and the 62 is soft costs and furnitures and everything else and contingency and all the other item.
Okay, I got it.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay,
Mhm.
before we vote though, I think it's worth pointing out because this was a discussion 2 months ago that Ms. Ayers had brought up some concerns around the design of the school. And I just want to note that we did have a meeting with Council Member Ayers, Ms. Young, our council president, Chief of Staff, Eddie from Tecton and one of your other architects, and Alan and Sandra Feos from the Board of Ed. And I thought it was a really productive meeting, and we addressed some issues around, color and mostly outside of the school, but with a multi-purpose room as well inside. And Ms. Ayers, I don't know if you wanted to make any comments, but it seems like we came to a good place where we were able to move the project along and, address some concerns.
Chairman Smith, I had not prepared a statement this evening. So what I will say is my concerns were addressed in that special meeting. And I look forward to seeing updates as we get closer to the project.
Great. Thanks. Okay, so let's call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Wiggins, I didn't see your vote. Is that all in favor?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so that passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on to item B. Review proposed guaranteed maximum price GMP from Gilbane Building Company for the new Norwalk High School project, and refer the following to the Common Council for final action, and I will read these all together. A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an amendment to the agreement with Gilbane Building Company as the construction manager CM for the Norwalk High School project, State Project 1030263N, to accept the guaranteed maximum price GMP #1 proposal for an amount not to exceed $219,594,620, account number noted. B, authorize building management to issue change orders on GMP #1 on contract for total not to exceed $3,350,000 funded by the owner's contingency, account number noted. C, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an amendment to the agreement with Gilbane Building Company as a construction manager CM for the Norwalk High School project, non-state funding, to accept the guaranteed maximum price GMP #2 proposal for an amount not to exceed $3,730,982, account number noted. And D, authorize building management to issue change orders on GMP #2 on contract not for a total not to exceed $100,000 funded by the owner's contingency, account number noted. Will someone move those items, please? Ms. McMurray. Okay, Alan, you want to?
Thank you again. Yeah, on Norwalk High School, this project been out since out to bid since beginning of well, actually before Thanksgiving, I think it was. I think the 26th. So we've been out on the street for a number of months. There've been different bid opening because the size of the project, getting competitive bids, it's more challenging than even South Norwalk School because the only limited contractor that size to do the size of a project. So the project we actually had bid opening maybe 3 times if I'm not mistaken. Because certain packages we are trying to attract as many bidders as possible. So through this process, we finally got finished our bidding process, and the Gilbane is our Shamaz here tonight also, and they go for a process called scope review. So where they bring in all the parent low bidder, sit down with them, go over the scope to see what what's in there, what they potentially missing from the bid, and confirm the number is good. There are times that the bidder withdraw for different reasons, for like they missed something or there's some issues and stuff like that. So it's not unusual that the bid ranges. I mean, this size of bid, first bidder, second bidder could be $2-3 million difference in price. So it is a place that it's a different kind of a construction market that we're hitting. Overall, we did well. you know, the project, the state approved project of $239 million. That's the number you hear all the time, is $239 million. The city also have on itself, it's a $6.5 million that we have for Norwalk High School construction projects. So what we're doing is that we have two GMPs. One is for the construction that we know we're going to get reimbursement from the state. And again, this project is reimbursement rate from the state. It's a very special state legislation that approved this for 80% reimbursement. So it's very unique. And the swimming pool, it's get 50% of the 80%. Is that correct? Or it's just 50%? I forgot what it was. So typically, the state doesn't fund reimbursement for swimming pools. So the pool project is in it. I guess some of you will remember that when the initial phase of this project, when the state approved a number, the pool was questionable whether that's in the project, because what they approved wasn't enough money to do the pool. But since then, we added back in, and so the pool is in there. Just remind everybody, jumping around a little bit, this project basically, originally we did this project based on a proposal to build new, tear down a portion, build new, tear down another portion. And we thought that is substantially impactful to education. Imagine that, you build a new portion right next to an existing building, then you tear down a piece, and then mechanically, the security and noise and vibration, all that stuff get into play. So through a whole lengthy process, we actually decided to build the new school in the football field, so that we don't impact education, but we do affect sports, outdoor athletic somewhat, but a lot of the sports off-site already. So we are taking steps to work with the athletic director to figure out where everybody goes, and we're looking to provide busing to get the kids from Norwalk High School after school to those locations. It's not that many places. I think it's West Warwick is one place. With I think I forgot what sports. It's definitely soccer, but I'm not sure the other sport. And a track for the competition, they will go, and football, they will go to Brian McMahon. So that's all worked out with the athletic director from Brian McMahon High School as well. So there's a substantial coordination on a lot of details that worked out and still need to be worked out, but we are in position to move forward with that. Back to the construction. So yeah, so we have so the first guarantee maximum price, it's charged to the state approved portion of the project, and there's a few things that is not eligible for reimbursement. So instead of burdening the financial aspect, the accounting side of the funding onto the state portion, we're using the city money since it's not reimbursable anyway. So we assign those costs as a second GMP to the city portion of the funds. So that includes concession building, it's not eligible, the turf is not eligible, and also off-site improvement, which is like traffic improvement and things like that. So we're using the city's funding to cover those costs. That's why we have two GMPs. This way we can maximize the reimbursement for the state and not to eat up space in our space state eligible portion to cover non-reimbursable expenses. So that's why we have what you call it? We have GMP 1 and 2. It's a smaller amount, and those are very specific items. We anticipate this project in this portion of this project hasn't been bid out yet, like demolition. Demolition. One of the reasons why we didn't bid out is that because we will build a new school. It takes 3.5 years to build, and afterward we move the kids in, and then we start demolition existing building. Because disposal cost changes from year to year, depends on landfill and everything else. It's not we didn't bid it now just so because it doesn't happen till like 3.5-4 years from now, kind of thing. So, and there's also furniture and furniture, FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment that doesn't get to bid out in another 2 years from now. Also, our contingency right now, the way we set up, it's a little bit, it's very low. But consider cover. One of the things that covers is that it's the site soil removal. That's expected potential, depending what it is. It could be $2 million, it could be $3 million. So that number is unknown. So what we're going to look at to do is that we have enough money to cover all the projects, and We anticipate as these bids comes in, we will look to the state to cover any differences that we may be short at that point, because we don't know those numbers at this point.
If I can interrupt 1 second, Joanne, can you make Amar a panelist?
He should be able to speak. Amar,
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
okay.
I'm not getting video though. I don't know if you could see me. though.
Correct.
That's okay. No, that's fine. I'm good. Thank you.
And the other person from the Norwalk High School project team, it's Scott. He's from a KBA, the architecture firm. So we are subject to committee approval tonight and common council approval Tuesday night. We are scheduled to start mobilization and be on site probably beginning of March, first week of March 1st kind of thing. But we need to, once the council approve it, we need to, law department need to put together the amendment to the existing contract. And thereafter, you may need to go and contract all the contractor, starting with demolition and site contractor, put the construction fence, bring equipment on, bring construction fence, set up construction fence, and on and on. So you're gonna see activity by beginning of March. Again, this project would build a new building, would take a little bit more than 3.5 years, about 3.5 years. So it will be, the new building will open in 2020, August of 2027, am I correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And then after they move in, that summer we'll start demolition existing building. We're going to build the parking lot in the middle, and then we're going to start construction of a new athletic facility, including a field house, concession building, the football multi-sport complex with bleachers and all. And then that will be finished in September 2028. And the only thing left after that, so we'll be in time for the fall sports season. The only thing that would not be finished at that point would be the tennis court. So we'll finish that in the fall of 2028 in time for the spring semester for tennis. So it is both projects, this project, both projects, the schedule is very aggressive, and then there's a lot of thoughts and phasing and strategy behind it in terms of especially Norwalk High School, because it's a existing school is still going to be operating. Parking is a big concern. We actually next month I'm going to come back. I've been in discussion with American Legion. They are property owner across the street on County Street. They have substantial parking spaces available, and I've been negotiating with them for about 20 parking spaces for the next few years, potential a little more later on. But I will bring back a proposal to the committee and the common council for a 5-year lease with them for some parking spaces. That will mostly for surplus parking, but at the same time, it's something that we want to make sure that we can potentially put some teachers parking over there. It's not for students, because we want to keep students had to park at Andrews Field for the next few years. So the spaces are available. In fact, we striped Andrews Field already, anticipating this project. We strive for parking. And yeah, so there are many different aspects between sports and parking and access, busing, drop off, and all the other things. There's phasing plans, and we are scheduling a meeting with Norwalk High School administration, Norwalk High School and PTech administration for February 26th, I believe, to sit down with them to go over the logistics and site issues and their concerns, and take every step we can to meet their concerns and address the problems if there is one.
Thanks, Alan. It's a major project with a lot of complexities and moving parts, and it's, your attention to detail beforehand is considerable. So I just want to commend you for that. Ms. McMurray.
Thank you, Chair Smith. So I had 2 questions. One I think is pretty easy and straightforward, and the other one I don't know if you can answer, but I want to bring it up so I can figure out who to address it with. The first one is under letter BC, it says non-state funding. Can you just explain why that is quoted as non-state funding and nothing else is, and what exactly does that mean?
The reason I put that in is really not really intended for the Common Council, being very transparent about this. It's really not a concern of Common Council, but it's really for the state perspective.
Mhm.
I want to make sure that the state doesn't look at this. State have certain things, conditions that eligible and non-eligible. So when if you put an eligible item into a state portion of the project, they would block that money out and then consider non-eligible already. So you reduce the amount of money that you have for eligible items. By calling out separately, it's not really, it's not intended to confuse the council. It's really intended to, so if the state ever look at this for some reason, that's not part, the state shouldn't be looking at this at all. That's what I'm trying to just kind of make it clear to them. That had nothing to do with state funding. So I just want to very delineate it for that purpose, so that it's no confusion. The state part that, oh, you approved this, why isn't this part of this project? So that's what I want to totally separate it from it.
Okay, so I assume if anything is called out as that, you will continue to let us know, in the same fashion, and I don't have to ask it again, right?
Yeah, I think like transportation, moving their kids around
Sure.
for sports and stuff, we will charge you to this account, so that again, it doesn't tie to it because they don't reimburse it. So
Yeah.
also like offsite improvement, like the traffic, pedestrian crossing and stuff like that, we don't get reimbursement. So we're gonna charge you the city account. So we don't want to use up the eligible portion of the state account.
I totally makes sense. Thank you for that clarity. The second question, again, I don't expect you to have the answer to this, but I wanted you and other staff members to be aware in City Hall that there's a rumor going around. I hope it is a rumor, about, you just mentioned like having the kids, shuttled or bused to West Rocks and Brian McMahon, which I saw coming. We knew that was going to happen. The rumor that's going around, or the information that's going around amongst parents of younger children, is that the other sports, like junior sports, like Norwalk Junior Soccer Association and things, are going to be displaced because of this. Have you received any information about that, or do you know anything about that, or is that something that, Parks and Rec is handling? Like, I think it would be such a shame, although I know the logistics of this are hard, to negate the younger athletes, because that is how we get our high school athletes eventually. And I think there's got to be a way that we can work it out where everybody has a piece of the pie.
Let me start, and then Joanne can finish what I have to say. So I think from day one, when we talk about this project and we say impacting on sports, outdoor athletic, indoor sport doesn't get affected at all. That's one of the beauty of this project, right? So indoor doesn't get affected. So there's other sports that go on indoor that have no issues at all. So if we do renovation and tear down like we had originally, they would be affected, right? So in any event, I think from day one, our objective is we are doing everything and more than, I don't think this is the right word, more than everything we can. Our goal intent, and I think we accomplished it, that we're not trying, everything we do does not reduce this participation. Okay, so when all the sport, except potentially maybe a little tennis, so at the end of the day, may not have any issues, but tennis, the one that we actually struggle the most. But I think I'm gonna let Joanne to talk about
Yeah.
it more. But
I
not
can
let
go
her,
into
but
detail.
but at the same time, I truly believe that's a rumor out there. But again, Joanne worked with Doug McCarty on all of these
Yeah.
issues, and it's very specific. We are not trying to reduce this. We're not trying. Whatever we do is we are doing everything to maintain participation, especially being offsite. We it's a little bit discouraging to be offsite to doing sports already. So we don't want to further discourage them, right? So, but again, the allotment and everything remains the same. So, Joanne.
Yeah, so let me just I'll go through an example. Like Ellen said, all the indoor sports aren't going to be affected at all. When you look at spring and fall, when you look at the locations that they practice in currently, the only teams that we had to find another location was tennis and track occasionally. We worked it out that the track coaches from Brian McMahon and Norwalk High are working together, and it's literally, I think, 1, maybe 2 days that they're going to go over to Brian McMahon. Their coach is very versatile and can find other ways to have practice and not have to be on the actual track. In the case of tennis, we're actually going over to grassroots tennis, and it's actually gonna help with participation because they have the courts and the people who are there who teach our young kids how to play tennis. They're going to help with having like a feeder kind of program. So they're going to work together with our community to work with that program to build it a little bit better than it already is. So if you look at all the other sports have currently a place to go. They already go to Nathan Hale or they already go to West Rocks. It's just and actually they already play there too. Soccer's play at West Rocks. And so it is football who has to go to Brian McMahon, which we all knew, for 4 to 5 games a year. And then like track was the other one, but all the others already have a place that they were going. Softball might be the one of the ones that we actually were trying to get Cranberry School to have their field ready, which we could have. But I was told by the athletic director that they would rather go to Brian McMahon because it's a turf field, has lights, it's more convenient to not have to worry about the spring in the eastern part of the world. So that's those, for instance, and I think I might have covered them all. And I did work with Ken at the rec department, and as well as Doug did, to try to alleviate any time where they would go into the recreation time, because like I said, they're already practicing. Like I said, so I don't think any of them, maybe a softball could possibly have used Brian McMahon later in the evening when they're practicing, but that it's very limited. I will tell you that from the
I really, really appreciate all of the work you guys have put into this. Thank you for sort of dispelling that. I figured it was a rumor, but I figured if it got to me, it should be discussed because I don't like that misinformation going around. And I just really appreciate that there are community organizations that you are organizing this, because I know it's a huge endeavor. So thank you for making it work for all the kids. Appreciate it.
No problem. Of course.
Yeah, since you mentioned the site thing, one of the things that we did set up a building advisory committee with the parent representative and stuff. That we had one meeting recently. We had previously a couple of years ago, 1 year ago, we had meetings, but we kind of restructured it a little bit because with parent leaving and staff changes and stuff. So we established it about a month and a half ago, kind of thing. We had a first meeting the other day, and we provided updates and stuff. And the reason I want to bring that up is because representative from Namrick School is also attends. I think the question always been is that that little softball field, which Norwalk High uses is for the JV team. What is the impact? We are not touching that field. Amar, you hear, you correct me if I'm wrong. We're not touching the field probably for like 2-3 years, and we touch it probably 6 months to 9 months will be 1 season. And the goal is to keep that operation for their use as long as possible, and we don't need reason to touch it. We're not touching it. So again, I think we're going to impact them probably 3 years from now, and maybe for springtime to summertime kind of thing. I'm not sure it's longer than that, but I may be wrong. But again, generally speaking, that's our goal. And also because since I was talking to Narrowmake, they always wanted the area. Originally, we were doing a half-court basketball there. Not so much for basketball, but they always wanted an area of asphalt to play on, kind of thing. But we actually meeting with the school administration, the principal, and I think just we actually identified area in the back near the playground. We actually paved it in September this year. So, and then I think we did some playing activity on top of the asphalt too as well, graphics on it or something. Anyway, so we provided asphalt area so that on the muddy day they have a place to use. So that's something they were looking for, and we provided to them already.
That's much appreciated and very useful at any school because it gets very muddy and the kids then can't go out and play. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Jen, thanks for bringing that to the council, that rumor, and to give Alan and Joanne the opportunity to address it. You know, I just want to add around that is, you know, between Alan and Joanne, Doug Marchetti and Ken Hughes, you are not going to find more collaborative, cooperative, think outside of the box, let's make this work. What a team, right? So they really have worked very hard on this, and I think that we can all appreciate what they've done to address this issue for our kids and families. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Burnett.
Yes, thank you. Just for clarity's sake, so the numbers that are before us to approve tonight and go forward to the Common Council, those numbers are within the budget. But is that, well, let me state my full question. So I'm assuming that the numbers that are before us to approve are within the initial budget, but there was commentary made about there's other items that we're not sure the magnitude, the cost of those items. Do we anticipate that the cost of those items will be within the budget or outside the budget, which will require us to identify additional funding?
We anticipate that a portion of will require additional state funding. So at such time, we will approach the state to provide additional funding for those items that we don't know the actual cost at this point.
State funding, and so there's a possibility that the state may not fund those, which would then lead to the city providing the.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Freyer.
So Alan, when you say it could exceed, it could exceed the 76 million, which was the overall number that we were looking at, the project cost.
Say that one more time.
239.
Are you saying that, just building on what Mr. Burnett just said, exceeding, are you talking about exceeding being over the $76 million, which was the original project cost, or exceeding the 51 million?
Sorry, 76 million was South Norwalk School.
239. Mr. Freyer, it's 239 million.
Yeah.
Some odd.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had that mixed up with the Norwalk School. But so isn't the other GMP 2 is 3.7. Is that not, is that a contingency? I thought that was that a contingency, or is that specifically earmarked?
It's very complicated to explain. The state has approved a budget for $239 million.
Right.
We have separately city local funding additional. I'm sorry. The state approved a budget of 239, which is subject to 80% reimbursement. We have over $50 million we allocate to match for our roughly 20%. Because certain things is not eligible, so we actually have a little more than the 20% in there. So at 50, I think it's almost $51 million. Additionally, we have $6.5 million for Norwalk High School construction funds available to us. Okay,
right.
So the reason why we sign certain things a certain ways, it's a whole reimbursement issue, that things that are not eligible, we want to keep it very defined and put it into the $6.5 million. So what's the money? What's remaining for the 6.5 and what we use? I think was two whatever million we have here. Sorry, we set $3.7 million. We are signing as GMP 2 of $6.5 million. whatever left over on both accounts becomes contingency also we are still setting up aside money for those tasks that we haven't bid out yet. But we anticipate that we will probably need some additional, because when we talk about a contingency amount of 5% or something like that, the 5% is a substantial amount of money. We don't think we need it all, but at the same time, we don't know what it is. So I don't want to, it's not the time to request the money at this point. 5% of $200-some million is what? It's like $12 million, right? Do we need 12 million contingency? I don't think we do, but at the same time, is that, do I ask for it now? Well, no, because that's a substantial amount of money to ask for, whether it's local and state. But for 5% contingency, it's not unusual for a project to have 5% contingency. So there are variables out there. And do we, at the end of the day, do we need to go to the state to ask for it? We call it budget, I mean, playing words a little bit, but we call it budget adjustment. And traditionally, when we reconcile those numbers at the end of the project with the state. You know, when let's say a project for $2 million, we go over whatever reason, different reason, change orders that we go over, then the state looks at it and eventually they will approve something within 5%. That's not a state statute allowed, but that's typically what they do in the past. But we haven't done it for a number of years, so I'm not sure what the state's position is. But there's other ways the state can approve money, such as going for special legislation, as well as there's a Jim. What's that for? I keep forgetting that it's a.
I'm sorry, what were you referring to, Alan?
Yeah, so when
Oh,
we request additional money kind of thing, there's a form for a budget adjustment. It's an F with an R, right?
SCG, yeah, SCG 049.
So there's means and method that we approach the state, but we won't know how much we need until we go out to bid on the other items. And also determining some of these, like, you know, we can budget huge amount of money for soil removal, but we don't know what we need. So I think as we get into the project, I think those becomes clear. So I think with the range we're talking about, it's 5% or less. So it's a number that we look at regularly in construction projects. That's within reason. That's what we potentially be going to state for 5 or less than 5%.
I guess my concern would be, and I think Mr. Burnett has the same thoughts, that, you know, we get down the road here and we're short $5-10 million, and the city doesn't have it. Where is it going to come from? And you know, who knows what's going to happen in 4 years? Is that a concern that we should have?
I think it's going to happen around 2 years, 3 years or so. Is it a concern? Yes,
So it happens sooner than
there's solutions to it. I mean, there are strategy. In fact, me and Jim's been looking at it. How do we address this kind of thing? It is something that we should be aware of. I mean, that's why we bring it up. That's why we talk about it. But at the same time, it's like within that 5%, it's not something that we would stop a project on, because it's you know, in today's construction market and the last few years, how construction market is, I think overall we did very well in terms of coming within like 5% of the budget kind of thing.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's you know, we hear project all around the state. I mean, Jim and Amar, who's do construction all over the state. I mean, there are projects that just stop because they're 20-30% or whatever it is, kind of, for different reasons. I mean, but at the same time, I think South North School and this project, I think we did very well, and that 5% within the range that's manageable. I know it's still multi-million dollars, but it's still manageable in the sense that, you know, because think about it, we're carrying escalating is right now is calculated 5%, for $200 million, $10 million a year. So, you know, if efficiency in implementing a project and getting project on time, it's very, very important, because the cost wise, if we delay 6 months worth, what, $5 million, 6 months. So I mean, if it's managing these projects in a timely, efficient way, it's very important. And when we're talking about, you know, within the 5%, it's something that we need to continue to work on with the state and continue. And it's not unusual for the state to see this either. So, but saying whether they will approve it or not, it's really up to, you know, us pushing for it kind of thing. But
So the key to this, the key to this really is that with you and Jim and Amar keeping your eye on what's going on and keeping track of these costs and identifying where you're going to have overages earlier or as early as possible, and keeping the state in the conversation, you're always setting the table for the possibility that more money might be needed. On the other hand, I got to say that on all the projects I've ever seen you bring in, there's always something left over at the end of the day. So that gives me some confidence.
I mean, you know, and that's absolutely true. That's a really good point, Jim, you know, that we have seen several of our projects, big projects come in a little bit under budget. So, I mean, I think that, you know, it's a little unnerving, right, to think
it is.
what's going to happen, you know, when we get to this point. But what I'm hearing is the history with the state is on a big project like this. They are aware that these types of things happen, and they are generally willing to work with cities, towns. I see you nodding, Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think that's more a Jim question than mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. You know, especially in this climate, where it's very unpredictable and you know, bidding is not such the science it used to be. Or estimating, I should say. So they have been understanding on other projects. You know, we again, we may end up in a very good place, you know, at the end of the construction of the new school. So, you know, but we want to be transparent, like Alan said, and let everybody be aware that there is a possibility that we may need to request additional funds.
And I think not to, I mean, it's kind of sidebar a little bit. I mean, Barbara started talking about it. I mean, on PONUS, we actually we covered what's remaining. We don't talk about this much at all, generally speaking, right? I mean, when there's money left in the account, we just returned it. But on the PONUS, I think it was $2.9 million. Jefferson, it's another million.
3.1.
And I think it was another million came from what you call it? I think maybe PONUS too. Maybe PONUS made $3 million for me. I forgot what it was.
No, I think
so
PONUS was
we
about
recovered like $5 million in the last couple of years, but that's most of that money went to you know, offsite improvement for South Norwalk in terms of drain. Remember we came for drainage issues on the intersection, and then the intersection traffic. And then we decided to do this do additional acquisition. There's $2.9 million we put in there, but that's not new borrowing from the city. That's from not level, you know, that residual. So they are great. Not to pat ourselves in the back and stuff, but they are a great effort behind the scene to manage the programming side that doesn't grow to the point that, you know, if you look at our building, you know, because traditionally we got 20% reimbursement. Our building compared to other buildings in the state, we don't typically win awards from architecture because we don't spend the same type of money when our community get 80% reimbursement, right? When 80% reimbursement, the local share is so much smaller, and tendency the building to look even better kind of thing. But for all these years with the city, our position has always been managed, you know, programming wise, we do everything we have to do, and building wise, we keep the front facade interesting, and the side facade is very basic kind of thing. So there's a really conscious decision on managing costs on all these projects. So it is a lengthy process, especially like, you know, I know I can go on for all night. So in any event, so we are looking at these very closely. We are continuing to work with, and Amar does not hear this, work with and work against him to manage this project, to maximize the you know, what we get money for, what we get for a buck kind of thing. So yeah, we will do everything we can. We have been doing everything we can through the process to control costs. It's every step of the way. So it's very interesting. You know, some of these items we haven't bid out yet. you know, the question, well, you bid it now, you lock in the money, lock in the dollar amount, but people don't bid that way. People bid on 3 years from now with unknowns. So when you don't
Yeah.
have a lot of bidders on certain packages, they don't bid it to like, oh, hold today's price for 3 years from now when we do the work. They're bidding the price 3 years from now, which they don't know. And how do they protect themselves? Well, they bid high. So just because you bid it now doesn't mean you get better pricing. All it means is getting speculated pricing. So that's why we don't bid certain things for that reason, because you know it's just people just throw numbers at it, and at the end of the day we may pay more. So there are different strategies, different ideas, and we debate these behind the scene all the time about what is the best strategy, what we want to put out. Like even the concession building, you want to bid that out 2 years from now and stuff like that. But I always feel that I need to bring a number as close as what we cost to us to the council now. The variables are smaller in the future that we got to bid. I'm not sure you understand it. I mean, potentially I can put the football field, the entire football field, and the concession building and the field house to bid out 3 years from now. But that's a big unknown of what that going to cost in 3 years from now, right? So we're trying to minimize it. So we bid all these things out, but there's certain things we really don't want to bid it now. We really wait for a couple of years from now, kind of thing. So there's a balance in what we do. And there's a lot of thoughts behind it, and find the right balance of what we do and don't do. So I want to stop. So
Well, I think you got a pretty good track record in bringing these things in, so that makes me feel a little bit better.
And
Thank you.
I agree with that, and I think that, you know, your attention to detail now for the future, you know, is I'm pretty impressed by that. And you know, again, it does feel a little uncomfortable when you don't know exactly what it would be, but you know, your record of being on top of things is very good. So Mr. Burnett.
Yes, thank you. I truly appreciate the transparency and this information with us this time. However, I walk away from this discussion with a feeling of we need to proceed cautiously as it relates to other projects, because we're taking on a project this magnitude and this cost in recent years, or maybe in the history of Norwalk. I don't know. But as we stand here today, these unknowns, again, it sends caution that we have to really look at taking on any really big major projects, because until we have some more information as to going to cost, what the final number is going to be, what the high school, of course, we're going to have to stay for her, but should they not help or not help to the magnitude that we might need, then that falls with the city to then fill the gap. So that's going to impact other projects coming down the line. So again, you know, full speed at Norwalk High, but again, I walk away with a feeling of caution as it relates to other projects in the city, because they're making a commitment to the new Norwalk High.
Good
I'm
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
agreeable with what you said, because what you said actually took some pressure off of me, because I was carrying that load myself. And with your understanding that this issue, it's more than staff issue. It's the council aware of it, that exactly the word you use, caution. It's actually the project. It's geared to move on, because it's the funding. It's pretty much there, kind of thing. It's just some unknown that we need to resolve in the upcoming couple of years. So caution is a very good word in terms of, like, you know, is it perfect? No, but it's something that is it buildable? Yes, and it's something that we need to continue to work very hard to manage cost managing and to minimize the financial impact. And it is incredible that we get 80% reimbursement. It's a different kind of, for this project. It's a different world for us. I mean, think about, you know, 80% of $200+ million is $160 million. That, and we can't build a high school without the state help on this project, especially 80%. So it's an opportunity that we need to continue to cherish, I guess, because I mean, I never done a project, but typically 20 or 30%. 80% is something that it's very valuable to the city. And Norwalk High School is not built in 1970s. And we spent $40 million, $42 million back in 2006, and nobody knows even there's a difference. I mean, Barbara's been there for a number of years, right? I mean,
Well, no longer, but
Yeah.
all my children went through Norwalk High School, and my daughter graduated in 2003, so I do have a long history with that school. And this is a gift to the city,
Yeah.
the
It's
80% reimbursement. It really
I don't
is.
think that, I've been here 42 years. I mean, when's the next opportunity the city can afford
Yeah.
to do this with 80% reimbursement? I don't think we will be. And ultimately, Norwalk High School for another 5 years from now, if we don't do this, I'm just not saying, I don't mean that way, but we will be coming in for another major project for Norwalk High School either way at minimum reimbursement rate. So it's an opportunity that we are taking advantage of, and financially, I know the Common Council and the city has been very supportive of this, and this reimbursement rate it's significant. It's not like, oh wow, we get a few more bucks, we do this. It's not something that we would never do ourselves without 80% reimbursement.
Yeah, this project's potentially transforming for our city, and for our schools. And it's, to have a state-of-the-art high school like this, it really is a gift. So, yeah. Any further comments, questions? Okay, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed. Abstentions. Ms. Dunn abstains. Mr. Wiggins, what is your vote?
I was voting for it. My hand was stuck. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're a yes?
Yes, it was stuck
Okay.
up.
Okay, so that passes 6-1 abstention. So that will move on to the Common Council. Thank you very much.
Great.
Great discussion tonight. Now I will call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Right,
Thank you.
Barbara.
Thank you very much.